F.I.S.T, which stands for Forged in Shadow Torch, is an action platformer releasing directly into Game Pass today. Released to solid reviews 2 years ago on PlayStation, you're a cute little rabbit man who beats the shit out of robots. Wielding the eponymous fist, a floating gauntlet of pain on your back, you'll punch, drill, whip, and jump your way through roughly 7 hours of excellent Metroidvania gameplay. It's a weird premise, looks fantastic both on PC, where I was able to play, and it has heart. Is that enough to make it worth a download? Well, let's find out in the XboxEra review of F.I.S.T, Forged in Shadow Torch. The game takes place in a dystopian furry future where robots known as Iron Dogs have taken over a city populated by animals who walk and talk like people. Coming by way of a Chinese developer, this game is a furry's wet dream. You're a rabbit with a dark past, and you'll fight against it in the future's grim outlook through anywhere between 5 and 10 hours. There's a lot of cutscenes, nearly 2 hours of them, and if you watch them all, you'll be treated to a cliche-filled but well-told tale. There's even a Tanuki martial arts master, a bear who invents new items for you, and a sexy femme fatale fox-looking character. Graphically, the game looks fantastic, though I did have some weird performance issues on PC. They were mostly tied to asset loading and were a constant reminder that this is probably an Unreal Engine 4 title. Randomly, I would have 1 second long hitches while traversing. It rarely happened in combat, but it was frustrating nonetheless. The backdrops are gorgeous, featuring high-quality textures, great art style, and a depth that few titles in the genre can match. The game is played entirely on a 2D plane, but the city behind you is bustling with layers of buildings, streets, and other beautiful scenery that is truly breathtaking at times. Animation-wise, the game's solid, with a focus on giving you control as often as possible over locking you into movements or attacks. Transitions into and out of cutscenes could be a little janky at times, but the camera angles showcased the attention to detail in both the levels and character models off well. Location variety is high, with some fantastic particle and water effects mixed into the middle and later sections. Games like this are all about the gameplay though, and while it is a little bit more of a mixed bag, it's still damned fun. F.I.S.T features a mix of decent combat and good platforming. Early on, you'll gain the ability to endlessly wall jump, which sets the tone for how movement works. Combat starts off slowly though, and it took a little while to click for me. Reading enemy moves can be a bit tricky, as I was unsure if my attacks would stun enemies out of hitting me or not for a while. Once I learned how to read their harder hits, it became a dance where I had to know which versions of my attacks worked best while dodging and jumping around like a little bunny on meth. First up is your big old hand. This gauntlet focuses on heavy attacks that juggle enemies. You have 3 meters in the game: health, items, and weapon energy. The F.I.S.T energy attacks are used for breaking through particular ceiling and floor tiles as well as doing massive damage to your enemies. X is your main attack, while Y is a heavy hit or an energy-using one if you hold a certain direction on the left stick. The second gauntlet mode is a drill that can also turn into a whirling blade or even a propeller underwater. This one is trickier to use as it locks you into longer animations, but the damage potential is much higher. Holding B while jumping with the drill allows you to float, and even indefinitely fly if you're on top of a powerful fan. The last gauntlet style is unlocked late and is a whip that I wasn't a huge fan of. It worked well for specific enemies, but much like the drill, I found myself being locked into attacks too often where I would get my ass handed to me. I'm a big old fisty boy and I loved walloping the various robotic enemies around with it whenever possible. To unlock more abilities, you'll need a mix of currency, which enemies and various piggy banks around the level will drop. Certain abilities do require data discs, which you'll find on the toughest of foes. When enemies are low on HP and glowing orange, you can press B to quickly finish them off with a cool looking animation. This rewards you with extra currency and occasionally health and item meter drops. Those items are a health flask, and automatic parry batons, and more. They are interesting but a bit underpowered, so I rarely ended up using anything except for the health flask. The other upgrades available for you are your health and energy meters. Finding 4 of each upgrade item will award you with more meter, and it's damned important that you max these out through exploration. The city is huge, and you'll have a solid map and transport system to help you around it. That map is a stylized 2D one that automatically fills out as you explore. For transport, there are specific areas you can travel to and from anytime. Load times on PC were quick, and the number of fast travel spots felt just right. There are main and side quests, and the game does a good job of showing you where they are without making it too obvious on how to reach them. Floating exclamation points lead you in a direction, but they don't exist in the game world itself, so you will have to jump into and out of the map often. The music in F.I.S.T is decent enough. It wasn't particularly memorable though, but it never got in the way and it helped set the grim tone of things well. And the voice acting is a lot better than I was expecting for a non-native title, and the writing is solid as well. It is a weird furry-filled universe with a lot of tropes, but it gets the job done well enough so as to never distract from the gameplay. I did have a few bugs in my Epic Game Store version of the title, as I was unfortunately unable to find a contact for the game's publisher in time for the launch into Game Pass. They were all graphical, with some odd textures on enemies, and a few times where a door showed it was closed, but in reality it was actually open. I will try to check out the Xbox port post-launch and update the written review if possible. Wrapping things up, F.I.S.T, Forged in Shadowtorch is a well-made, beautiful, action-focused Metroidvania. The combat starts off slow, but when it clicks, it is excellent. The traversal and platforming are top-notch, and even though I'm not too much of a furry, I grew to enjoy the characters and story quickly.